Through sound, because it's a very noisy city, New York. But one day I'm in my apartment and I didn't even pay attention to the fact that it was Good Friday weekend, and I started to hear the singing. And I went to my window and I didn't see anything, but I could hear it. So I followed the sound, and this was 15 years ago, and then I saw the procession of very simple people, from my neighborhood, mostly Puerto Rican and Dominican community, in the street with all the traffic and the cops and, horns going and babies crying and everything happening all at once. And there it was. So I ran back upstairs and got my Super 8 little consumer home movie camera. And then I was like, oh, well, I did grow up in New York in a Catholic family, so I understood what it was. And I made one small film, and then each year I would go and just do it again. It was my way of participating, I guess you could say. Yeah, well, I started by speaking about the sound, and that's my way inside of it. But this is a normal thing in New York City. You're in your apartment, and you hear a song, and you look, and it's a car waiting for the red light, and they're blaring their music very loud, so it comes into your environment, and then it leaves again as the car, takes the green light. So the way that sound moves in space is very interesting to me, and not just it's moving in the moment, but also across time, because sometimes you hear a very old song, and sometimes it's the newest song, and I just liked the way everything was mixing and wanted that to be part of my film as well. And the different communities and the different music that those communities listen to also is a really important thing. It has a history. I processed that by hand, by myself, and I wasn't sure why. I just was working with the material. Each year I would shoot one roll only. So in Super 8, or film in general, one roll is 3 minutes. So it's an interesting kind of collapse of time, because you're moving maybe for 3 hours in a procession, yet you have 3 minutes to show for it. So my job is when to shoot, when not to shoot, condense. And each year I would just try something else. And it was hard to remember anyway. What did I do last year? I don't remember. Something with a car window. Yeah, let me try that again. Or did I shoot color? I just took whatever was there. And once I had the black and white, and it was actually, the weather was not very nice, because you never know in spring in New York. And I thought that maybe it wouldn't look so good on the film, so I thought, I'll process it negative and see what that looks like. And it was so beautiful to me, and made the end of the film. Well, this is, it's a pun, right? It also means the place where people cross the street. So you're crossing, and then Jesus walking with the cross, obviously. And the crosswalk means it's an intersection. It's like in mythology, you have the place where you make a decision, and that's the crossroads. And the cross also is like where time and space meet. So it's a place where many things meet. And I like this idea that, different cultures meet also in New York as we pass each other in the crosswalk, and different time periods as these people in the procession are reenacting an ancient story in the present moment, and both are there simultaneously. So everything's intersecting in this moment of history, in this space that we're standing on. Well, in some ways, I think, someone did say that. In some ways, people don't expect this film from me, because normally I don't shoot people, and I don't shoot street photography. Although for myself I do, but not in my art practice. So that is a departure in a way. Most of my films over the last decade have been around scientific subjects, mostly astronomy and related to science. It's one of my interests. But in some other ways, it's very similar, because when I made my last film, Observando el Cielo, I was also using the same method, where I would take the camera to a place and shoot the world, right? And I gathered those rolls over a long period of time. It was really about gathering in time. And that's exactly what I've done here. I go, you know, one day a year, and I gathered, and then I had 13 years worth of processions. And with Observando, I had 17 rolls of stars, you know. So it's not so different in this way. You know, I just gather the images and then figure out how they go together later. Yeah.
Great, so that's it, Jeanne. Thank you.
Really? Wow, that's easy.